first began to perceive what we're aware of, what we are madly in love with every bit of it. We're fascinated. We're totally, because we're cherishing every single thing. That's our nature. And as and I use the analogy of puppies. We're just like, oh, look at you, another life. Look at you, everything is lovely and fascinating and wondrous. And as we're exploring, that's sort of a contrast way of exploring. But the contrast is all just different kinds of goodness. There's no opposite to goodness. We're just aware of ourselves. So it's all godness. And there comes a time where, through our exploration, awareness begins to explore through concepts. So it's not just the form or the experience we're aware of, it's the aboutness of what we're aware of. So we can be aware of an apple and have an infinite number of imaginary beliefs about the apple, right? We can substitute a snake. We can be aware of a snake and have a bunch of beliefs about the snake, right? But it's just the aboutness of what we're experiencing. When we came into the conceptual exploration of fear, for the first time, our reaction is not cherishing, because we are aware of the idea that we can be afraid of what we're perceiving. So our focus of awareness gets drawn in really powerfully to the individualized focus in the belief in fear. And then our intention then is to protect. So we get into this cycle of creation, in a cycle of focus on fear with the intention to protect, and that's how we're reacting to all of our environment. We begin to lose our awareness as the oneness of life because our focus is internally on the individual vessel. And as we do that, now it doesn't feel like we're the oneness of life at all. It doesn't feel like life is happening with us and through us and as us. It feels like life is happening to us in a threatening way. And so as we have that protective, reactive kind of environment, and we're creating from that, we begin to create an entire conceptual reality on the idea of a value system of good and bad, because we need only good things to come to us, because that's what makes us feel safe. That's what makes our fear feel better. And we need all those bad things to go away, because that's what threatens us. So, in the basis of Buddhist philosophy, all suffering is from our attachments and our aversions. And I experienced this in one of the experiences through the mind of Buddha himself. And so we come into this good, using the good to try to conquer the bad to make it go away. So we have a good trumps bad reality. But what happened in April of 2016, when I went into this big metaphysical experience, was in this fundamental block that humanity lives in, this illusory block. That block consists of only two things. Our firm belief that we ourselves are separate from divine love, and our constant crying out for union with divine love. This is the block that we live in. And in this experience, I watched us once again build our entire reality on the good trumps bad paradigm. I watched us from the very foundations of all of our systems of our world label good and use that good to what we're labeling bad to try to make that go away again and again and again. And the good trumps bad reality that we design. And we know that we did this because this is the basis of our hero stories. All of our story paradigms are the good trumps bad, and we love that. We love that paradigm. So our mythological religious stories, the basis of government, the basis of education and economics, everything is in a good trumps bad model. But in this experience, when I was becoming the lesson of this block, all of the things on that bad side of the list, the good trumps bad, all the fear and judgment, war and violence and pride and jealousy, the whole list of the bad that we try to make go away with the goodness in us or in the world, all of that bad is simply pain. It's just different versions of the pain that we experience because we believe we're separate from divine love. And in my experience, all of that pain was profoundly sad because it's the nature of pain to be rejected. And so in my experience, as I'm holding all of this rejected pain, I could see that that's what we all carry. All of humanity carries that base of sorrow in our heart It's the pain from our belief that we're separate from love. And that pain, all that bad stuff, is our cry for union with divine love. And when we try to make that pain go away, rejecting it, we're rejecting our cries for union with divine love. And what we're crying out for is the exact opposite of rejection. It's cherishing awareness. And so we're in this loop of human suffering, rejecting our cries, thereby creating more cries, rejecting our pain, thereby creating more pain. And it's all just a huge loop of self-rejection, because we're simply trying to make one part of awareness that we labeled good, make another part of awareness that we labeled bad go away, and we can't. It's all just awareness.
I see you thought about this.
I thought about this.
Yeah.
But it's the whole basis
Okay.
of my work, because
Yeah.
it brings us back into the reality that we're living in a belief-based reality.
Sure.
And what we're coming into in this time of integration into a unitive consciousness is living beyond beliefs, going back to that wholeness state of recognizing that we're all a cherishing awareness that's seeking to be all that we are. That's it.
And how do you get there?
I want to say something, what this brings up for me. Back in the early 80s, when ecstasy hit town, I don't know what they do at the raves, but in the 80s, that's why we took ecstasy. It tuned us in chemically to that experience. Yeah, that was one of the most profound things I've ever
Because it
done.
drops all the inhibitions of judgment.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And it brings us back into everybody's loved and everything's equal. Everybody's free to be
Yeah.
as they are. Yeah.
And you see that you create your own hell.
That's right.
Yeah.
But then we have to say, right, like God, the original prime creator, void, right? There was some desire for this sort of hide-and-go-seek game.
But you see, here's something that we often, because we like a blaming kind of mentality in our good trumps bad, we kind of, that breeds a little bit of resentment that, you've made it go through hell for this. But we never, for a single moment, we never intended for it to be this way. We never intended for it to be pain. When we have the moments, I promise you, when you watch the video, What Love Really Is, you'll see me encounter every speck of pain that has been rejected in the interwovenness of humanity. And all of that pain that we've rejected is like a living entity looking back.
No, pain itself is sad.
The pain itself, that it's like a child showing up at the door, and we just keep shutting the door and shutting the door and shutting the door. And now humanity is beginning to see what's been on that other side of that door. And now we're just giving that pain what it's been asking for, which is to come home.
That's all healing work ever is.
That's all it is. So it always comes down to, I mentioned this in our discussion, recognizing the pain that we've been trying to reject. And the moment that we see, oh my God, you too are just as equal of an experience in life as any other thing, the healing is instant.
But isn't pain defined by our ego? I mean, isn't that... What I was thinking, you'd spoken about how we reject love in favor of outrage and hatred, because those feel good. Those feel
They
good.
feel validating for the
Yeah,
feelings we
natural.
feel.
And, sticking up for some, feels like an entity, really, that is, I guess, human ego that gets fed by it. And so to break the habit of, feeding that, I guess, how do you do that? How do you personally, when these things come up, because I'm sure, they do for you, and things happen, and it doesn't seem fair, it doesn't seem, it seems, outrageous, or, you see things happen. How do you come beyond that automatic response, which is, I need to set justice in here, and how do you, and of course if it's painful, somebody, takes something away from you that, you've already built, your life around to say, this is who I am, or, you're losing some aspect, or you get sick. So how do you get beyond all of that sort of turmoil to the place of, I am love, I am only love, that's what I am that's on that God's idea.